Supreme Rice. Since the 1930s, supporting Louisiana farmers and communities throughout Louisiana. To find out more, go to supremerice.com.
Live at lunch.
You are looking live.
Live at lunch. Live at lunch with Ott and Hanny on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
What the hell's going on out here?
Now, here's Jimmy Ott and Charles Hannegriff.
Yeah, for some reason or another, you sound a little taller on radio.
Is it live? Is it live? Is it live?
From Modesto, tacos, tequila, whiskey, patio, good weather. Happy Wednesday to everybody. Charles,
wait.
Hear me out.
What the patio?
This is the patio, right? That's what I'm calling it. We're out here. Let me try to do a little bit better than that. The covered and enclosed patio. How's that?
Yeah. So, I mean, low 30s last night.
Yeah.
Patio weather today.
Yep.
Welcome to South Louisiana, huh?
Just in a few hours, from the dogs refuse to go outside because it's too cold to let's do the show on a patio.
But sometimes when it's warm in this time of the year, it's nice today, man.
Very nice.
This damn agave is like sticking me in the back of the head, though. So if you can see on YouTube,
yeah, careful your head.
Watch my noggin, man.
Yeah, we're gonna be all right.
Yeah, we're also getting ready over here at Roca. We'll talk about it, but the biggest. The most sales they've had for the Thanksgiving Day at Roca, and
which is partnered with Modesto. Yeah.
But they did it through Roca. It's the Christmas table this time with the smoked meat, salumi boards, Modesto tamales, the Roca sides, and the sweets. So we'll get into it, all of it. But it's so easy. I've done it the last couple of years where, you show up on the day of, and it is 3 minutes, 4 minutes maybe, check you off the list. They got your box set up. They'll load it up for you. I kind of did it myself, and it's good, and it's very, very, sometimes, it's easy to heat up. It's easy directions. No, it is really, really easy directions. So, no, it's we'll talk about all the great things that they have. So if you missed out on Thanksgiving, we'll give you the Christmas table menu for the orders done by 20th. By the 20th, pick up on Christmas Eve.
So last night, it's not that I haven't watched any college basketball. I've watched, I watched some of the early LSU games, a little bit on Sunday. I've watched. We've had a heck of a schedule, but I got to admit, I've been kind of in and out. 10 minutes here. 10 minutes of game action here, 20 minutes there, half, a few full games, and we've had a great schedule. But to sit down when my day is, done, and I'm going to sit down, I'm going to watch sports, it's been football. Even the midweek games, it's been more football. Last night I felt like, it's college basketball season now, at least in my head with the Jimmy V Classic. And
this is like these teams that are playing like BYU and Florida, especially UConn. Charlie, this is like game 5 for them as far high level non-conference stuff, man.
And I had watched Florida at Arizona. I'd watched that game.
Florida, don't be alarmed by their win-loss record. Now the kid from Princeton, the guard might not be what they hoped. Maybe he's going through a little transition, especially the shot. He set up for his shot, took his own, and came up woefully short. He might be a little bit of but man, like them competing at Duke last night, which is basically a home floor for UConn.
Yeah,
they're going to be just fine. And listen, that's a young coach who's trying to handle a championship hangover. That's not easy.
No, you're absolutely right about that. And they didn't back down from their scheduling. They went out to Arizona and played what is now the number 1 team in the country. But the biggest thing when I sat down last night is like, okay, this is going to be my first chance to really see AJ Dispenza, and I know he's going to be a top pick in the draft. He may be the top pick in the draft. It's going to be close between him and Boozer and Peterson. And so I'm watching, and I see what everybody else sees. He's not hard to pick out. But the way this game unfolded, and with 6 almost 7 minutes to go, right under 7 minutes to go. The score's tied at 22. BYU makes a bucket. And they don't make another bucket for the rest of the first half. This 7-minute run is 21-0 Clemson. And so they're up 43-22 at the half, and then they hit a free throw to open the second half, and the lead is 22. And I'm like, okay, this is going to be on, but I'm going to probably be, checking something else out, a little bit of Ohio State, until UConn and Florida start. And then here they come. And here comes Debanza. And, oh, what a show he put on. He outscored Clemson by himself in the second half. I mean, we're looking at – I hate to do comparisons to superstars because it's just not fair because we're comparing high school just out of high school players to NBA guys that have been in the league for a while. But doesn't he look like a pro? Does it? I mean, right now, like if he was on an NBA bench right now, he would be in the. He wouldn't be on a bench. He'd be in the starting lineup.
This is a very deep class. You got some great freshmen in college basketball this year. I mean, the first 4 or 5 guys, and I don't know what's coming out of France and Europe or Asia. I have no idea, but man, these guys are loaded, man, and they have been stars, and we have seen the best of the best. This might be the highest level of play for November/December. We talk about how ugly it is usually, and it was ugly in stretches last night. But Debanza, Charlie, and listen, it doesn't come without a little bit of a cost. And what the cost is, what made BYU special? Why did they more than hold their own in a very tough Big 12 last year?
Ball movement?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the ball movement's not it's not because he's creating on his own. And in the first half, you're like, man, should you try and get him more involved? And nobody moved the ball as quick as they did, the spacing. And they lost one of their shooters for the year, too. But and I saw this early, identified, you're just looking at it right now, but the ball movement's not as much, but damn it, you got to let this guy create by himself. You might have been second-guessing yourself in the first half. The second half, The other thing, he's a superstar, and if he's not the first, he'll be the second, third, or fourth. He's going to be very, 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 very high, okay? He freaking plays hard. He plays hard.
Yes,
Jack.
he does.
And I mean, was that not noticeable?
Yeah, you know what I see, and I didn't get a chance to watch this guy when he was this age. I just know what he looks like now. If you look real hard, 5 years from now, you see Giannis. That's at least when he fills out. He's 210 pounds.
This guy's more fluid. This guy's more fluid.
I don't remember. I didn't get to see Giannis
his
at that
ball
age.
handling skills are way. Giannis is bigger. This guy's 6'9". He's above the rim. He's got some Giannis in him. There's no doubt athletically.
That's what he can do when he's 25, 26 years old.
Oh, he's going to put on just a little bit more strength, but he's pretty put together. He's kind of the perfect basketball body, to be honest, right as a true freshman.
He and Boozer are the same height. Boozer's got him by about 40 pounds at Duke.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
Boozer's not as long.
Different kind of players, yeah.
Boozer's below the rim player.
Yeah.
Boozer is extremely – he's a back-to-the-basket player. This guy is a ball-in-his-hand player. He's a face-of-basket player. And Boozer, I wonder about his ceiling because he's got to have a lot of Tim Duncan in him, and he is way advanced in his low post moves, in his determination, in his physicality for a true freshman. But no, he's not to me, the draft board and the ceiling, Debanza is so much higher to me. He is just, man, and he could shoot pretty good too, Charlie.
Yeah.
He's not a terrible. How about him at the line?
Yeah.
And Billis didn't want to say it last night. He says, okay, I'll mention it now. He made his last 40 before that miss. Because he didn't want to do the broadcaster's jinx.
Sure.
40 straight free throws
that's unreal.
The guys that can dunk, the guys that can beat you to the back, or the hardest, it's like the quarterbacks who could just one look, oh, no, he's covered, I'm going to just run. Okay, those are the hardest guys to teach how to shoot. Michael Jordan's shot came on. I know he hit the shot as a freshman, but it got so much better. LeBron James and just whoever. Man, he's got a pretty damn good shot. His skill level, his ball hand's clean, his body is. He's got good luck beating him out for number one. I know it's a deep one. Your boy at Arizona's excellent. You said Boozer's excellent, but man, he is.
I think that I looked this up last night, and it's real early for the mocks and stuff. This is the first year that I can remember in the last probably 15. There is not a foreign player that is guaranteed to go in the top 10.
Okay.
There's a couple of guys that might be in the top 10, but the top three are Boozer, DeBansa, and Peterson at Kansas, who's only played 3 games because of the hamstring. He's about to come back.
He's excellent, too.
He's really
I didn't
good.
mention him because he's been hurt, but he's excellent.
Yeah. So those are probably the 3 guys that are the closest to being the number 1 pick ready. And they're going to be fun to watch.
I just don't put Boozer as draftability.
Yeah.
He's every bit the college player. But draftability, I just don't see his – I think he's kind of a finished product. He's closer to a finished product than these other guys.
That is the
Does that
knock.
make sense?
Yeah, because that's actually the knock on him is that when he has played against players that are of equal talent to him, the game is not quite as polished. He's dominated some not quite as physical players.
They played some good teams now.
No, they have.
That Florida front line, they just put waves of guys at you.
Here's the other the stat that'll jump out you. In the last 5 seasons, the Ken Pom Player of the Year ranking has featured 4 freshmen over 5 years. Okay, combined at the end.
The Ken Pom
Player of the Year rankings. Okay, over the last 5 years.
Okay, and these are out now. This is a season long. This is
their final over the last 5 seasons completed. Okay,
completed.
Yes. Okay. The final Player of the Year rankings has 4 freshmen in it since 2020, and the names are.
That's the way it is.
Well, hang on though. Cooper Flagg last year, Brandon Miller from Alabama, Paulo Banchero, and Chet Holmgren. Okay, these are all names that you know. Right now, you've got 4 freshmen that are right up at the top of those rankings. I know we're a month into the season, but those 3, plus the kid Flemings at Houston, plus Acuff at Arkansas, and the kid
from Arizona?
And the kid from he's a little bit further down. He's like in the top 10, but not in the top 5. And then Ament, the kid from Tennessee. Those are kind of the top 5 or 6. And Caleb Williams from Wilson from North Carolina. Those are kind of the top guys. And Cole Pete, Anderson's younger brother, I watched him in that game against Florida. He was fantastic. So this is maybe the deepest freshman class in the last 15 years. So you got to go back. You got to go back a ways, and the fact that there's no foreign players, that this will be the top of the draft as it stands right now, I think is going to put more of a spotlight on him too.
I think this is a benefit of remember exactly. It was kind of the middle of the season last year when he committed to BYU. And said, wait a minute, the number 1 player in the country, number 1 recruit, has committed to BYU. Wow. Okay, well, and that's fine. But it allowed them to schedule these games.
Yeah.
And so they have had a great schedule.
Yeah, BYU is not somebody you think you're going to see in Madison Square Garden in early December.
And next time on Otter Locks, I try and I might have much more luck in. I've had buddies who tried to get across Tigerland in school and got hit by the train, okay? That's about the equivalent of me trying to get in front of Michigan right now, like I did last night, okay?
Yeah.
I mean, they're up, 40-something before they called off the Dogs? I mean, this guy, he grows them on trees as far as the Twin
bigs,
Towers,
yeah.
Because in the Florida school, help me out. It's Florida Atlantic. Yeah, Vlad Golden, and then Golden went with him to Ann Arbor, and he had the Yale transfer last year as well. And now he's got 2 more bigs this year. And guess where you want to get to the second game last night in UConn? And because the UConn of power forward, 6'11", not 7 feet, I'm sorry, but 6'11", he played his first game after being out for injury. First 2 possessions, bucket. Oh no, he's a big part of what we do. Where'd he come from, Charlie?
Where did he come from?
Michigan. This guy is Dusty May. He's got like a pipeline on these 7-footers, man.
They have won 6 games by 25 points or more, including against some, not obscure programs.
Gonzaga.
Gonzaga.
Worst defeat in Marquis history.
And the biggest turnaround over 2 games. They lost by 30 and they won by 30. Something like that when Gonzaga turned around and blasted Kentucky.
Yeah.
Back to back games. I do want to talk about Florida and UConn, but we gotta get to our first.
All right,
break of the day.
here's the menu for the Christmas table. Our Go Eat Concepts Christmas table, of course. Roca, Modesto, Lit Pizza. The Izzo's but we do it all at Roca. And the smoked meats, the smoked brisket bundle. Slow smoked whole brisket, barbecue sauce, creamy horseradish sauce, pickled red onions, dill pickles, 2 dozen slider rolls, 6 to 7 pounds after cooked, feeds about 10 to 12 people conservatively. Smoked pulled pork bundle, same stuff there, and the smoked turkey breasts we have. So our salumi board is salami, picante salami, mortadella, prosciutto de Parma, cheeses, fonta, sage, derby, vino cabra. I'm sorry, didn't take Italian, Charlie. The marinated olives, hummus, pickled cauliflower, stuffed papados, glassy pecans, fig mostarda, the sweetie drop peppers, a salumi board. They do it right. You've had the salumi boards over at Roca. They're great. Modesto tamales, they have those available. And the Roca sides, everything from mac and cheese, Brussels sprouts. The homemade meatballs are outstanding. Potatoes are gratin, sweet potato casserole. It is delicious, man, with that toasted meringue. You freeze that meringue until right 10 minutes before you want to put it on top of it and put it in the oven. Perfect. Spinach and artichoke dip, the Italian chopped pasta salad. You've had that, Charlie. It's delicious. And the vodka tomato basil soup or the potato leek soup. Sweets, the Goody Company pecan pie, and the white chocolate bread pudding. It's our Christmas table exclusively at Roca. Get your orders in. Go to the website at Roca Pizzeria's website and put in your order to do everything mobilely. Get it in. Orders in by December 20th. Pick up on Christmas Eve over at Roca on Government Street. We just did the biggest year we had for our Thanksgiving feast and our Thanksgiving catered food. Now we've got it ready for you for our Go Eat Concepts Christmas table this Christmas season at Roca.
Live at Modesto, live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch with Ott and Hanny from Modesto on Burbank on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Remember, you can always get the show on demand, 1045ESPN.com, LouisianaSports.net, brought to you by Supreme Rice, supporting our Louisiana farmers since the 1930s. Go to SupremeRice.com. Didn't even mention that BYU hit the game-winning shot.
Yeah, the game-winning button.
There was so much else in that game, a 22-point comeback. DeBoncha outscoring Clemson by himself in the second half. And, oh, by the way, they had to hit a game winner to avoid overtime.
Totally botched. Close to 5 seconds to go length of the court, and they advance the ball and call timeout after burning 4 seconds. Man, you could draw up a play and just throw a pass and do that with like a half a second off. So they do that, and then the kid bails him out with the 3 at the buzzer. So brutal loss for Clemson in Madison Square Garden against BYU. And another very respectable loss as part of the ACC-SEC Challenge down in Tuscaloosa. They fell behind early, and that one by double digits. Had the lead with about 2 or 3 minutes to go and just couldn't finish it against Alabama.
Second game, a lot more intriguing from start to finish, although it didn't have, a exclamation point on it at the end like the first game did. But, Jimmy, from I would say about the first media time out of the second half all the way, to about maybe 4 minutes to go over that 10, 12 minutes. These teams traded punches, man. They were going back and forth. Neither team was able to quite shake loose. I think over that time period, the biggest lead might have been 4 or 5, but most of the time.
Not the first half.
No, just the second half. The second half from about the 16-minute mark to about the 4-minute mark, they were back and forth. I don't think anybody got loose by more than 5, and a lot of lead changes.
Early on, UConn came out, took the lead, stretched it about 6, 7, 8. Florida went on like 13-0 run, took a 7-point lead. I think 7 or 8. That was their high point. Never got to double digits ever in a game. Yeah. UConn responded immediately, and in the second half, like you said, then it was 4 points either way the whole time, and it was some athletes, man. You could tell the level of play was impressive, man, and the New York crowd was treated to a hell of a doubleheader.
The bench for UConn was deeper. They got a lot more out of their bench than Florida did. They outscored them 20-6, and I'm not going to say Florida wore down, but UConn just had a little bit more firepower. If these teams played again tomorrow in Orlando, just to give me a neutral site closer to Gainesville, Florida could have won the game by 4 points. I thought it was
it's a quasi-home game for UConn.
For
you saw
UConn,
it.
Yeah. So if they played, say, in Orlando or something, Florida might win the game by 4 points. I thought that they were every bit as good as UConn for 35 minutes, and then UConn just got away a little bit at the end. And if you had the Florida plus 4.5. Congratulations on the missed free throw. Inside of 10 seconds, that ended up being the margin. But really, really good basketball game between the owners of the last 3 national champions.
Yeah, what you get out of your bench. Florida plays 3 guys, double digits: Ingram, Hangluck, and Klavzar. 10, 13, and 18 minutes last night. But I think it's more just figuring out your pieces from within. Condon and Chinegu, that they know what they need to do, but like Boogie Flan, what is his role on this team? You know, I mean,
I think they're still figuring that out.
He took 5 shots.
Yeah,
he took 5 shots, and I'm sorry, Lee took 14. Oh, that's got to be closer, because Lee, you know, when you need a bucket, and you know, I want Baldwin Flan's hand more than Lee. I mean, Lee is the Princeton transfer. He comes with a lot of – but it might not be – so he's got to figure out these pieces in their roles. So their role identification is something that through this tough schedule they still hadn't figured out, and I'm a little bit puzzled why, because these games certainly test you, and they're competitive. Even Florida State and Gainesville, very competitive. Florida State had the lead with less than 10 minutes to go. So they played a lot of competitive games. But Golden, a little bit of the victory lap after the championship, and rightfully so. And it was also that second-round game. And UConn was not that good last year. They were 8-9 and played the number 1 seed in the second round. And on that Sunday, or the opening weekend, man, UConn they were fortunate to escape with that one. And then, of course, the regional final against Texas Tech, who had them beat the whole time, and then the crazy comeback in the final against Houston.
Boogie Flan was difficult for Arkansas to figure out last year, mostly because he didn't shoot the ball well. You know, nobody denies his talent, and he was able to run that offense and keep the turnovers down, but he did not shoot the ball well, and he's not shooting the ball a hell of a lot better this year to start out, even though he's shooting a little bit less. I don't know what he looks like in February.
He's actually shooting a little bit better. He was 37 points. It's basically the same. 37.7 last year for Arkansas, 39.3
But he's way worse from three-point range, and he's worse from the free throw line, I guess is where I was going.
3-point range, 34% last year, 24%. That is bad. No getting around that. That's yeah, you can't deny that. But just. And Lee, on the other hand, though, but Lee was a guy that last 2 years shot 44 and 45% from 3. He's at 26%. The teams that they're playing right now or defending, it's tougher than the Ivy League. I mean, it just
they played Arizona, Duke, and UConn. That's a schedule,
I'm sorry, from
man.
34 and 37, he's 20%. I'm talking about the overall shooting percentage is considerably down. So he's going through a huge. Yes, the SEC, Charlie, is going to be much. They got a lot of athletes in the SEC, and they're going to defend a lot better than the Ivy League. So, he might just not be a guy that. There's been a lot of guys who played at a lower level in college basketball that went on and made the jump up to, like the kid last year. I'm forgetting his name, but he came from Iona. Yeah, the MAAC is a tougher league than the Ivy, but still, that's a major jump up, and he was more than fine.
And see, I think Florida's going to be fine. They went to Arizona and gave Arizona a great game. They lost, but they were in Tucson. They played Duke. They lost by a point.
And they got hosed in a call.
Yeah, and then last night, they're right there for most of the game. And this is still trying to put together, like you said, the championship hangover and put together the new pieces. They're going to be fine. I'm not in the least bit worried about Florida. They will be right there near the top of the SEC all year.
They're going to be one of those, maybe those four seed that's going to be as tough as anybody.
Yeah, and see, looking at the league this year as compared to last year,
not close.
Right, and I could see Florida going 14-4 in this league.
Well, the problem is you're going to be penalized. It was way more forgiving last year because of these games.
Yeah,
so here we go. SEC was representative, right? Well, guess what? They get dinged. They didn't win.
Yeah, these three losses, I think, are going to benefit them as far as the experience and the toughening up factor more than the net rating loss will hurt them. If that
they're going to be fine. They're going to be fine, but you got to be 14-4 or something like that to get like a 1-2 seed. What
does it take in the SEC to get a protected seed for them?
For the fourth?
Yeah, top four.
It's hard to say, but it looks like the SEC is probably going to be the third rated conference behind the Big.
So 13-5.
They're not catching a Big 10 and probably not catching a Big 12.
So 13-5 gets you a protected seed.
Like a top four seed?
Yeah.
Oh, less than that. With their schedule, no.
With their non-conference schedule.
You can do 12-6. Yeah. Don't forget our friends at Legacy Title. Chad Reynolds, Legacy Title for all of your real estate closings, 296-0060. Full-service title company servicing all of South Louisiana. Our long-standing staff offering just tremendous service. Want to wish you and yours a very happy holidays. Merry Christmas this holiday season from our friends over at Legacy Title. Chad Reynolds, Legacy Title, 296-0060.
Live at Modesto, live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch with Ott and Hanny from Modesto on Burbank on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Uh-oh, they let the big dog out.
Boom! Out of nowhere.
It's time for the big dog, Randy McKay, with his best picks.
Well. How about this? Not a big dog. 2-1 with his pro picks last week, and hello Montana as well to go 3-1. We were happy to see the Grizzlies. How about that? A rare home dog in the FCS playoffs. A little bit of an appetizer, a little bit of a foreshadowing. Maybe so when we get to Randy's picks right now. Randy, home dogs in this deep into the regular season with the NFL. Well done last week. Let's talk about your first one right now in New England. And we know what the deal is. The more established Buffalo Bills, this is the whole AFC. It's not just the AFC East, but the more established teams struggling to just kind of get into the playoffs versus these newbies who are on their way to maybe some protected seeds and some high seeds and some home games in the playoffs that we just don't know if they're going to perform when it comes to playoff time. New England catching 1.5 at home against Buffalo.
Yeah, that's going to be start of the home underdog train here that I'm going to give out. So hopefully everybody gets on board, and hopefully we have a good week here. And so this New England-Buffalo matchup here, previously the Bills were about a 7-point favorite at home, early in the season. New England pulls the upset there. A little bit of turnovers, would cause that. But this Buffalo team, I just don't trust this Buffalo defense. This team was getting, they talk about Cincinnati having a horrible defense. Well, Buffalo's defense is right up there. They just got the lucky turnover last week. That could have cost us a cover, but lucky we had, Joe Burrow and Higgins came down the field, made a nice catch. So, but,
yes.
this line is flipped for us. So, we're getting +1, +1.5. Buffalo's still getting loved by these modeling guys, the analytics crew that still loves this Buffalo team, even though they don't, for some reason, they don't look at the side of the ball that I think is their biggest weakness, and that is their defense. We know Josh Allen is great, but New England has a decent enough defense to contain him a little bit, especially more than the Cincinnati team did, and going to get the home victory here, I think, for the New England team, and working way to clinch the division and probably clinch home field throughout the playoffs.
And also coming off a bye, a favorable, a deep season bye.
Yeah.
But I know that's something that you look at as well.
Yeah, usually you don't want to take a hot team off a bye, but I think this bye came at the right time here to get everybody healthy. So I think it's a decent spot here. Still a little bit of, that this is going to help this New England team too that had some offensive line injuries. They're going to be without that top rookie, but that's going to help that offensive line. And better game planning. These smart coaches like Vrabel are usually very good off a bye, so that's going to help them as well.
Yeah, Josh Allen, 2 fourth-quarter touchdown passes on Sunday. Everything is going. I mean, Cincinnati is driving with the lead in Buffalo territory, and I don't know. We don't know what the heck happened with Joe Burrow on that play. He looked fine in the snow, and then all of a sudden he doesn't really have a handle on the ball and kind of shot puts it out there for the pick six. Then in the very next play, ball gets batted at the line, deflected, interception. But they got to kick the field goal. If T. Higgins doesn't come down with that one-handed catch for the touchdown, that's third down. They're probably going to kick the field goal to put it on 8. At that point, would have cost me a sizable middle, and I'm sure you as well. You agree with that? They had to. It was 4th and maybe 6, 7, something like that when on that play to Higgins.
Yeah, the field goal's in play there, and lucky we got that there. And I think if Higgins doesn't catch that ball, I think the flag comes out for interference. So. Because he definitely was.
One of those, huh? Let me see the result before I call the flag. Yeah,
yeah. You could kind of see the ref kind of in his pocket there, and then it's a catch. I won't even throw a flag.
I didn't catch that. Good thing it held up, though. See, well, I have the review. After further review, it's incomplete. Here's the flag.
Yeah.
So
does the bucket go? We're going to call a foul.
A rematch of this one, and maybe a public dog here after Cincinnati. And one thing we did see from Burrow from game 1 on Thanksgiving night to last Sunday in Buffalo, even in the snow, he was a lot sharper. Minus those 2 plays, he was a lot sharper in that second time around. Now they got Baltimore at home. Cincinnati is +2.5 against the desperate Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah, and I trust the Cincinnati team not to beat themselves here, even though, they had the bad turnovers last week. Baltimore is beating themselves in these games, this week or the week prior, against Cincinnati. And then, of course, last week against the Steelers, they beat themselves as well. A little, maybe that should have been a touchdown, I think, with the likely play. But, of course, there are a lot of problems with officiating there, and if it's a catch or not, but that's not something we look at. But, of course, the modeling guys, again, here are still high on this Ravens team. That's why they're the favorites here, and you're getting extra value here, and that's why I like the Cincinnati team at home. Maybe we won't have T. Higgins. He's in the concussion protocol, so that could be a problem here, but they didn't have T. Higgins in the first matchup, and they still pulled it out. This is another game where I would use Cincinnati in a teaser with the game coming up next as well, or with Chicago if you like to, tease a favorite down. I think this is a pretty good spot against Cleveland Browns. So I like the side and the teaser here as far as Cincinnati goes to probably get the outright victory here against Baltimore again.
Maybe it's like if it was the NBA, Charlie, the Cincinnati might have won on that play because, an and one, he's being interfered. He's got concussion, obviously. So, concussion, interfered, touchdown catch in the snow. That's good for 14 points.
You're going to catch it. You're going to catch it somewhere. Lamar Jackson, to me, I can't figure out if he's hurt or what's going on here. He threw 4 interceptions all of last year. He's thrown 5 this year. Okay, that's not a huge total. He's only played 10 games. He hasn't completed better than 58% of his passes since October. He just looks off. I can't tell you exactly what it is, the lingering effects from the injury or something else, but he looks nothing like he did a year ago where I thought he was the MVP, really.
Randy, are they running as many design runs with him this year?
Yeah, they've been cutting back on that. And then another thing, and their offensive line hasn't been as dominant as we've seen in these last few years. I've seen some declining out of like Stanley and some of them other guys they have up front. And it's been a problem for them. They haven't been able to, establish a run as much with Henry. So that's been hurting this team as well. And it just seems like everything, goes wrong with them, later in games here. They're not closing out games and they're making too many mental mistakes. So, yeah, I definitely think the numerous injuries is built up with Lamar.
Anything? Is it the same thing with Hurts, or you see a little bit different? These guys, early in their career run for, but certainly running is such a big deal. And I was surprised. It's obvious to everyone that Hurts was struggling on Monday night that they didn't go design running plays as much.
Yeah, I think they should use more of that with Hurts too as well. That was kind of a wacky. That was a good game to watch though, that Monday night. You enjoy defensive football like I do, and on both sides there, the Philly defense and the Charger defense, coming up big. Very entertaining game. People don't like turnovers. I like turnovers and sacks and punts and that kind of thing. So that's my kind of style game there.
Yes, indeed. It was for all of us that had the Chargers and the under at the end. There's no doubt about that. After you're going to get maybe the but hey, Chargers quarterback is playing with a cast. I mean, it was a lot of people that not going to play with it, but when he needed to play, he used the legs of his quarterback and ran design runs at the end of regulation to get him into field goal range to tie it. And in the first drive in overtime, he needed it to put him in field goal range for Dicker, the kicker. Oh, Denver and Green Bay. Shades of that Super Bowl, that one where Elway finally got over the hump, the helicopter run by Elway when he got twisted around. And that one, Green Bay, where we first saw where a team in a Super Bowl let him score to try and get the ball back in a tie game there. Denver, home dog, plus 2.5 against the Packers.
Yeah, you got 9-3-1 here and 11-2. Two of the top teams in both conferences. Game of the week here. I favored Denver's top defense a little bit over Love and company here, and the Green Bay team that just came off a hard fought. That was a good game as well. The Chicago Green Bay game that could have won either way at the end too. Chicago had that drive and
yes,
kind of made a little bit of mistakes here. I think at the end, I think Johnson will learn from that. And that Bears team could be dangerous, in the playoffs too. So we'll see what happens there. This is another game where I mentioned I would use in teasers as well, as long as in sides, because you're getting the 2.5 up to 8.5. And I also lean under here as well. These two teams play like to run the ball, play lower scoring type games. For some reason, this total's gone from 41.5 up to 43.5. So I see dog and under. I see a little bit of a slobber knocker type game here, but I give Denver the slight edge here in the mountain air of Colorado. This Green Bay team comes in off that hard-fought win where, Denver, even though they didn't get the cover there with the last play, the little controversial last play against the Raiders,
Yeah.
But they had a pretty easy way of that game last week and came out of it injury-free, unlike the injury report I'm kind of seeing for the Packers.
And a balmy 60 degrees in Denver.
Wow.
In December on Sunday is the forecast.
Are you going to be in your tank top at the game, huh, big dog?
No snow Sunday.
Hey,
maybe take a trip down there, yeah.
Hey, where do you think the comfort level is right now with this 2-year product or almost 2-year product, 2-season project with Sean Payton and Knicks? Where do you think he is right now? Is he gaining a little bit of comfort level? Where is he?
Yeah, I would think he'd be gaining a little bit. Bo Nix is showing that, sometimes he can be down, but he comes back, and, he's been a good, second, not so good first half of games, but the second half, he's brought his team back and, showed some good responses and that kind of thing. And, Payton should have a little bit more respect. There's still the Denver team on offense still, lacks some weapons. We've seen that tight end Ingram step up a little bit, so that's helped them out a lot. So they're still without you wish you had a couple more weapons on that team to really be a good offense.
Well, I can tell you where the ball's going when he needs a play late in the game on third down. He's going to Cortland Sutton. I mean, that is his luxury. And one in the FCS. We're down to quarterfinals, I believe. That is right. And with a lot of the lines aren't out just yet, but you projected a line here. Montana, Illinois State. You were on Montana last week, but you jump into the don'ts here. You're taking Illinois State plus a few points against Montana.
No, I'm taking Illinois State versus UC Davis.
I'm sorry, UC Davis. I'm sorry. Okay.
Yeah, so we get a Missouri Valley team that pulled the big upset against the Bison last week. I don't know if you guys seen the end of that game. That was crazy. They're down 14, and of course, Brock Speck, their head coach, made the right move to go for 2 when they're that big of an underdog to try to go for the win, and he got it. So that was one of the biggest upsets in FCS history. And this team is pretty game over the years, so I don't see them letting down against this UC Davis team that it's an okay Big Sky team, but isn't one of the best. As far as the other game, you got South Dakota versus Montana. South Dakota has a very good quarterback in Bowman. Might even hear about him in the NFL, left-hander. He they beat this team 47-0 last week, and they've been putting up some numbers I hear on offense. And we know Montana can score. They got 50 last week for us, so. This total here, 58.5, looks like a pretty low total for these two teams. And we could see another, never know the weather, of course, in Missoula, but we could see another shootout there.
Quarterback for the Grizz, Ayat, is still eligible. So he got his judgment to give him extended eligibility, but it said only in a rotational bet.
He's just a sophomore.
Like that, a Hawaiian quarterback in Montana.
He's been there forever. He has been there forever. Yes, indeed. Thank you, Randy. And follow Randy on Twitter at RR39 Big Dog. We appreciate it, man. Good luck to you this weekend.
All right. Thanks, guys. Good luck, everybody out there.
And we are here at Modesto, corner of Burbank and Nicholson. We're also brought to you by Louisiana Health and Injury Centers, helping you deal with pain. Dr. Michael Goff and his staff done a great job for us over the years. Back pain, neck pain, muscle soreness, get an adjustment, get into one of their programs, their exercises and stretches. It'll get you loosened up. Dry needling, electric nerve stimulation, cryo and ultrasound therapy. They'll get you to feeling better. At Louisiana Health and Injury Centers, Airline Highway, Plank Road, and Jefferson Highway near Drusilla. Live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch with Ott and Hanny from Modesto on Burbank on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Juwan Johnson headed to the transfer portal. All-time high school all-purpose and touchdowns leader in Louisiana history, moving on after 2 years at LSU. I was kind of hoping to see what Lane Kiffin would do with him, to be honest with you, but looking for some more playing time. He's played in 25 games, but 45 carries, 165 yards, 22 catches for 94 yards, and another score, and 1 completion for the former high school quarterback. He will be moving on from LSU. Juwan Johnson heading to the transfer portal. Talk more LSU football with Scott Rabelais when we return here at Modesto, live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Enjoying the finer things in life is his forte. Let's bring in Scott Rabelais from The Advocate.
And we return here at Modesto, corner of Burbank and Nicholson. Scott, good afternoon. How are you?
I'm well. I'm trying to get all the lights up, and I get this one light on my house that keeps going out. It's driving me mad.
Well, get on a ladder and fix it. We want to tell you.
I have several times.
No, well, if it's, then call somebody that knows more than you about changing lights. I mean, come on, you got to get this stuff.
My son-in-law, my doctor's son-in-law also is things about electricity. So.
Well, okay, I got that. Scott, what did you? Frank Wilson yesterday was on the teleconference for the Texas Bowl, and he was asked, of course, about his future with Lane Kiffin, and I thought he was very diplomatic in his response. It was sort of a, hey, let's go play the game, let's get through this, and then we'll see where everybody's future lies. Most of the speculation is that Frank won't be with LSU after the bowl game. Shea Dixon has a story out about Texas's coaching running back coach job coming up. So what do you make of this with Lane Kiffin and Frank Wilson, who have had a history? Probably, nothing's for sure, but probably not going to continue.
Look, it's easy to see both sides of this. This is one of those difficult ones, right? I think LSU and Lane Kiffin would continue to benefit from Frank Wilson being on the staff and being the running backs coach, and obviously his recruiting. I mean, the guy's a near deity in especially in the New Orleans area with the high school coaches and everything in terms of recruiting. But at the same time, Kevin Smith, the Ole Miss running backs coach, who is coaching one of the offensive coaches who's coaching the Rebels in their playoff game with Tulane in a couple of weeks. He's been with Lane Kiffin a long time, and I feel very strongly that a coach must be allowed to decide who he wants to have on his staff and who he doesn't want to retain from the previous staff. I thought it was true for Brian Kelly. So I thought it was a mistake for him not to keep Corey Raymond. It was a mistake maybe not to keep some other coaches, but it was his decision to make, and he eventually rectified it. So I don't know if mistake is the right word. If Lane Kiffin doesn't keep Frank Wilson, it would be a shame, because the guy has given his all for LSU, and obviously is very happy to be coaching at LSU, and go somewhere else, like a rival SEC school, and he's going to be recruiting in New Orleans, so that's going to make things more difficult for LSU. But that's got to be Lane Kiffin's decision, and go with it. And if he's more comfortable with someone else, then that's what he should do.
I agree with all that. And if Frank does move on, wish him the best. There's a lot of places I'd like to see him more than Texas. He could be a recruiting pain in the butt, but we'll see. The rest of the staff changes that have been announced, and the fact that the Ole Miss coaches, former Ole Miss coaches, are being allowed to return there. For Scott, what's going to end up being, unless Tulane pulls a monster upset next weekend, at the very least, a 3-week hiatus back to Oxford to coach the Rebels in the playoff.
Yeah, it's unusual. I mean, you asking my opinion on them doing that, or
yeah. I guess I should have phrased it in the form of a question, but that's kind of it.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly seems unusual, and especially from the Ole Miss perspective, it's like, okay, you guys don't want Lane Kiffin coaching your team, and obviously the head coach is the most high-profile, person, compared to Charlie Weiss or Kevin Smith or the other guys. But you're okay with these guys coaching the team. Obviously, they need some coaches, right? You can't just say everyone can go and just let with analysts and grad assistants coaching your team in this enormously important football game, and possibly an enormously important game after that. Let's not forget, they're the big favorite, right? 2 touchdown favorites to win, and then move on to play Georgia in the Sugar Bowl on New Year's Day. So, it's unusual for everybody around. I'm going to take what probably is an unpopular opinion, and say that Lane Kiffin is being kind of nice to Ole Miss in this regard. Not getting much niceness reciprocated towards him from Ole Miss people, but and letting these guys continue to coach. And obviously, they're not coaching the LSU in the Texas Bowl, but you're going to be trying to, if Ole Miss does win as they're expected to do, and they play on New Year's Day, then the transfer portal opens the next day. So I mean, this is all very dicey timing, and things right on top of each other, as we've seen with this whole college football calendar. So it's fine. I'm fine with it, but it does put a few more, burden, but it does create some more complications for LSU after Lane Kiffin trying to build his new staff and to build the roster.
It debunks the theory that he said everybody that doesn't get on the plane with me doesn't have a job and screw Ole Miss.
Yeah.
But, they could be used here in an evaluation time period for the transfer portal. There's no question. So he is making a compromise in this situation. He's never going to be painted as the white hat in any of this. I understand that. Let's move on to a different topic, the playoffs and Notre Dame. No shortage of opinions on the Irish and the hissy fit that their athletic director threw over the last 48 hours, 72 hours. What say you about how the committee did on the playoff bracket?
I would advise people to go read Dan Wetzel's column on ESPN.com, and I thought he had a very good take. So, look, college football is so big. It's compared to the NFL, where it's just you're in. It's a total meritocracy, right? You win your division, or you have the best record among the remaining teams. You're in the playoffs, right? And the same thing for the other pro leagues. College football is so big and so unwieldy. It's so difficult to manage. It's virtually impossible to come up with the perfect scenario. They complained when they used computers, right, in the BCS era. And now they're complaining when it's all a committee. I think, I kind of get it when they say these weekly rankings, which are just designed to gin up interest and create TV ratings. Maybe you could do away with those and just say, here it is at the end. I mean, they don't in college basketball now. They reveal the top 4 seeds in each regional leading up to it, don't they? But generally speaking, for the most part, it's just this is what it is at the end. Here's the field of 68. So, but I think it's a very tough job to do. I think they did a pretty good job. I kind of think Alabama being left in. I think that's an important precedent because they did play the conference championship game. I think Ole Miss and Texas A&M and some of these other schools didn't have to do. But at the same time, I can understand some of the criticism. I think Notre Dame is really has been the height of pettiness. But join a conference, dude. That's all you have to do. That's all you have to do. Join the ACC full time. Join the Big Ten full time. Whatever. Help reconstitute the Pac-12 if you want. It's just something with got a real high profile team in it. This is how the pettiness has extended, guys. Ivan Maisel, who I think a lot of people probably know, is a tremendous sports writer, just a great person. He's written a book called American Coach about Frank Leahy, one of the legendary Notre Dame coaches. He was supposed to have a book signing on Friday at Notre Dame's bookstore. That has been canceled by Notre Dame, according to Matt Fortuna from who's Matt worked for. He's a sports writer. Because Ivan is a member of the college football selection committee. This is just the height of pettiness and ridiculousness. Just win your games. If you won one of the first 2 games, you would be fine. Be in a conference where you're 10-2 with a conference championship at stake and more tough games to play. You'd be fine. I'm just appalled at Notre Dame, but not surprised. Not surprised at all. They're taking their ball and going home. Spiting themselves. They don't get the bowl practices, and their players don't get a bowl reward. However you look at the bowl, it's just. But I guess we shouldn't be surprised by what Notre Dame does.
I would tell them, okay, you're upset you didn't get in this year. You had a case, and I do think that they're one of the best teams in college football. But if you think this is bad, when we redo the college football playoff in January, we're going to take out the stipulation that you get any type of
You don't
preferential
think this
treatment.
helps him keep that in place? Sort of a concession?
I think if they had handled
It's
this
set.
a little bit better,
okay.
that maybe there would have been some sympathy for them, because they do have a team that is one of the top 12 in the country.
It's one of the top 5.
But when you throw this you throw this temper tantrum and you call out the conference that has bent over backwards
Well, they're
for
getting
you.
they're getting some pushback.
They are.
I
So
mean,
you say, okay, listen, you want to be an independent? Fine, you're an independent. Impress us. Top 12, top 15, No, you have to impress us to get an at-large bid. No extra concessions. None. You're not guaranteed anything. And if you don't like that, take your ball and go home. Schedule whoever you please.
That's tough talk. Let me see it.
Right. No, I'm
Okay.
just saying that.
I mean,
I don't
still
think
bring something to the table,
and I
Charlotte.
doubt that happens.
Okay,
I doubt that happens.
That's nice talk, but let me see.
But it brings it into the
happens.
conversation when you throw the temper tantrum that they did. All right,
It's a calculated move, and it didn't work out for them. I mean, they certainly wish they would have been a part of this year's ACC. You know, they were in 2020, the COVID year. They played for the conference championship game. In the conference championship game against Clemson.
Yeah. The ACC could have said, play your 5 games.
And
like
I mean,
normal,
you don't think you like their chances against Duke or Virginia? Of course, and they would have been in. But it was a calculated move this time. This time it didn't work out. But I think it's very important to bring to the light for moving forward. Okay, if this thing still stays the same, they're top 12. There's a chance as a team or two that could be higher rated that's going to be left out in front of
because of Notre Dame's concessions.
Maybe that brings it to light.
Scott, my broadcast companion here is clutching his Diego Pavia Heisman ticket with high hopes. You are a voter. I know you can't divulge who you voted for, but you are very familiar with the process and the finalists this weekend. What do you think is going to happen?
Hey, Jimmy, I'm hopeful for you. You know, I'm hopeful for you. But I think Fernando Mendoza is going to win. I think it's very interesting. I mean, Pavia has, I think, for what the psychology of it's interesting, right? Because there's no Joe Burrow candidate out there this year to me, right? There's no guy who just got this overwhelming season and we got to vote for him. And Joe won by the biggest landslide ever. I think Pavia has had more what you would call Heisman moments, and he's obviously playing with this team that's been so bad, like Mendoza, and it just meant so much to his team as the MVP. But it's not an MVP award; it's the best player in college football award. And so I think a lot of voters like to vote for the best player on what is perceived to be the best team. And right now, Indiana, of course, they won the Big Ten and they're 13-0. They're the only major undefeated team left, and they're the number 1 college football playoff seed. So I think that's going to carry him to the win Saturday night in New York. I think it's going to be Mendoza, Pavia, and then probably Julian Sayin. Although I think Jeremiah loves Notre Dame, despite the lack of love I have for Notre Dame right now with all their temper tantrums. I think he deserves some consideration as well. I'm glad he made it to the final role.
But Scott, how much is it because you got 3 Midwestern school representatives of the 4 that they could kind of, it used to be where they could use up all their vote, split up some of their vote, because Sagan and Love are going to get a few votes too. I mean, if I was at the fairgrounds, I'd bet a superfecta with Mendoza, Pavia, Love, then Sagan. That's probably the way it's going to be. But I mean, gosh, boy, Pavia was minus 160 in the middle of that game. I mean, Mendoza until that touchdown drive was like plus 300.
Yeah, it's very interesting. The voting window was from Friday afternoon until Monday afternoon. So there's certainly voters, probably not most of them, but certainly it could have been a large number of voters who voted before the Big Ten championship game was played. I think like myself, I think most people wanted to wait and see that game play out and see what would happen, especially considering how they might vote for Sayin for Ohio State or not. But it's an interesting dynamic this year because you're right. Pavia's had a lot of love. Like I said, it really captured the imagination of the voters. and I think that goes a long way. But he could spring what would now be an upset, right? And win it. I would be surprised. I think he'll be in the top two, but winning it is going to be maybe a different matter to me. But I guess I wouldn't be totally shocked if he did, because I'm sure that some people are like, who said I'm voting for him. I like him. I just like the whole story about him, and they probably put him number one on their ballot. But as far as the three of the finalists being from the Midwest, there's no great candidate from the West Coast, and there's a lot of regional voting. The high school people try to balance it among several. I think it's 6 regions around the country, and there's no overwhelming candidate from other regions. There aren't that many that the big people go, vote for that guy is going to take some votes away, or these guys are going to cancel each other out. I think there's going to be broad national support for the top candidates, who I think will be Mendoza and Pavia in some way.
Scott, we always appreciate the time. Enjoy the weekend, and we'll talk to you next Wednesday.
All right, guys. Take care. Thank you.
He finishes with the Heisman. One other Indiana player has finished second for the Heisman.
Anthony Thompson, yeah, very good. 1989, won the Walter Camp, won the Maxwell, rushed for over 5,000 yards in college football. Yeah, that's when it was more of a career accomplishment. You had build up. It was very, very, very difficult for an underclassman to win.
I had forgot he won. He was a Big Ten Player of the Year as a junior and a senior. Anthony Thompson. When Indiana was, it wasn't any good, believe me.
Don't forget our friends at Go Auto, Go Chevrolet in LaPlace, Go Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Plaquemine. Boy, I could talk about their concierge service department. So they had some electronic issues. They picked up the vehicle, dropped me off a loaner. I was out to use it. Service department calls me with the to tell me exactly what's going on, get the approval for the work, and I give them the approval. They do it. I pay them mobilely. They return my vehicle to my home, and boy, you talk about just unbelievable service when you need some service work on your vehicle. I don't just talk about the vehicles over from the Go Automobile dealership family. I drive my Chevy Tahoe from Go Chevrolet in LaPlace. Go Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Plaquemine as well. Lee Carney and Nick Richard. Tell them Jimmy Ott sent you, and you'll get special VIP pricing at Go Automobile Dealership Family. Chevrolet in LaPlace, Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Plaquemine.
Live at Modesto, live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Lunch with Ott and Hanny from Modesto on Burbank on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. From east, north to south, but we're heading west. It's Wes Reynolds from VSiN.
Wes, how was Indianapolis, sir?
It was wonderful, Jimmy. It was a surreal scene there. The Indiana Hoosiers win the Big Ten title, a share of it for the first time since 1967, and the first time since 1945 outrighter, as Pat McAfee said when he was slapping back at Paul Feinbaum, the first time since effing World War II. Indiana had won the Big Ten title, and look, everybody stayed. Nobody went out to that cold Saturday night. Nobody wanted to beat the traffic. Everybody stayed to watch them get on the stage and accept that trophy, and just a great moment. And we knew what it meant to finally break the losing streak against Ohio State, to win the conference championship, to be number one as the seed in a college football playoff, and to go to the Rose Bowl, man. That's what mattered the most to me, because my whole life I've been wanting Indiana to play in the Rose Bowl, not at the Rose Bowl like they did against UCLA, but in the actual Rose Bowl, and they're going to get to do it on January 1st.
That's right. It was last year when I'm like, "Whoa, man! This Indiana offense this is a different type of beating. This is a smooth operating machine." When they put it all over on UCLA, one of the kind of signs that maybe something's cooking here with Mr. Signetti. What was it is played in the state of Indiana? Ohio State is used to being in the postseason. What's the crowd breakdown? Maybe 2-1. Indiana fans?
It was probably 2/3 to 1/3, maybe a little bit more. Ohio State was certainly represented there, but it was a lot of Hoosier Nation there, and I could tell at the end of the game when nobody left. Yeah, this about 65-66% Indiana, because of how big this was. It was obviously the largest attendance in the history of the Big Ten championship game, sold out, and the ratings bore out that were reported yesterday, the highest rated Big Ten title game ever. So there was a lot of interest from Indiana fans. Never thinking that we were going to be there. And we were there, and we're the better team, I felt, on Saturday night. Not by a lot, but just a little bit. Just ran the ball a little bit better, got to their quarterback a little bit more, converted better on 3rd and 4th down, and just the little things. And then
say Ohio
he's done all year in the clutch.
Say Ohio State holds on to win 10-6. What's your opinion of playing these games after, moving forward?
Yeah, but I mean, I have it different because it's been so long since Indiana's won the conference title. So the conference title game meant everything to us. But I understand the sentiment that they may be becoming obsolete here. It's especially, I think, for the Power Four, that they may be becoming obsolete because of the playoff system and because of what we have. And we know that there's going to be a movement. There's going to continue to be a movement. Hey, let's go to 16 here, That would not shock me if eventually this goes to 16 with all the, hullabaloo of Alabama not making it last year. And then, of course, Notre Dame being in that spot this year, not making it. So there's going to be a movement towards that. And as you get movement towards that, these conference title games are going to be, mean less and less. I mean, they're obviously, money makers for the conference, just like the conference tournaments are in basketball. So, we're trending the opposite way, but I was certainly happy with the results. So I love the conference championship games.
I watched the games. I know Charlie wants to comment here too, but if you didn't know anything about what's going on with it, Duke, Virginia was unbelievable atmosphere, even though maybe the stadium was half empty. Georgia Dome, Mercedes-Benz Dome with Georgia and Alabama, even though it was a whitewash, wasn't as competitive as it usually is. The atmosphere was the games were good, man. The Yeoman Stadium. Tulane. I mean, the games were good. We can get into, but just on their own, I thought the games were high quality and great atmospheres.
I thought they were too. And how ironic would it be if this is the beginning of the end for the conference championship games? When they were put in, what was the big objection to it by the SEC coaches was this is going to hurt us in the postseason. When the postseason was
they protected it
so drastically different. In that very first SEC championship game, Alabama ran the table, and Roy Kramer, who just passed away last week, the longtime commissioner who was the godfather of this, said, no, this is going to be the best thing ever happened to the conference. And he was right as far as the postseason. And now 33 years later, it may have run its course.
Yeah, but then they sure protected them, in the SEC and the Big Ten. I mean, Ohio State could have fallen to 3 behind Georgia.
Yeah, they did.
They fell to 2.
And, Wes, would they continue in a 16-team playoff to continue to protect the championship games?
Gosh, I don't know how they could, Charlie. And obviously the main problem with the conferences is that they're too big. Now people want to go back to divisions. Like, if you would have had divisions in the Big Ten championship game, you might not have had 1 versus 2, though. In that scenario, you might have had you might have had Oregon there, which wouldn't have been bad. But I just think that the conferences are so big, and you're getting these imbalanced schedules, and when you have so many teams in the SEC and in the Big Ten and the Big 12, it's hard to do it. I mean, it's hard to get a balanced schedule unless you start playing regular season games like starting in August or in the last week of July. So I don't know what the solution is necessarily.
How big of a loss is a defensive lineman?
He could be big, like Stephen Daly. What a story he is. Played at Kent State last year, didn't win a game, and then he didn't lose a game at Indiana. Look, it really hurts, but I thought what was the key to the game and the difference between the Indiana game, putting Heisman Doza aside, or who we think is going to be Heisman Doza on Saturday night, is that the offensive and defensive line for Indiana are substantially better than they were last year. It got exposed last year, I felt, against the bigger boys, against Ohio State in the regular season, against Notre Dame in the playoffs. But this year, I felt that their offensive and defensive lines were just as good as Ohio. I think on Saturday night. because Indiana at least was able to kind of run the ball. Ohio State wasn't able to run the ball at all. In fact, Indiana got 5 sacks on Julian Sayin. They got 6 on Dante Moore earlier this year at Oregon. They've got some depth over there, but certainly losing Daly, who I think has been a real revelation, it is a loss. Now, that hasn't been announced officially that he's going to be out for this, but boy, that video that circulated, that didn't look good.
Maybe you didn't see it on the selection show, but it was on the teleconference, and when with a boy from Arkansas, the head of the Gurchek. What? Yurichek, yeah. So, I mean, he's the a South Bend beat reporter. He said, "Well, listen. If you can't, how do you think you're going to have a shot at the national championship when you can't win your state championship?" So, just move along, Irish. So, I mean, maybe Indiana will go independent now, and the Irish will go into Big Ten, huh? I don't know.
Indiana's not that arrogant.
The guard is changing in the state of Indiana, huh? I mean, Heisman Trophy. Yeah, is this guy going to have? Was it 5-5 record for Paul Hornung when he won it?
Don't do it 2-8.
2-8. I'm sorry.
2-8.
I'm sorry. 2-8 when the Irish won it. How many of those happen anywhere else? So, boy, we hear a lot of one and know when it doesn't go their way. So, anyway, we will see. What do you think about the draw for the college football playoff?
I think the draw is going to be what it is. I mean, you're going to have to beat good teams to get to a national championship. I think it worked out okay. It probably worked out a little bit for Indiana because we were debating this as we were leaving Lucille Stadium Saturday night and walking these streets of Indianapolis. We were like, I kind of would like another crack at Notre Dame. I kind of would like another crack, but then part of me was like, well, they're playing really well right now. Maybe that's the one you want to avoid. But I think they're going to be favorite in either matchup against Alabama or Oklahoma, probably a touchdown favorite at least against both. So I think it's favorable. Now, there's a possibility you get Oregon, if you get through the Rose Bowl, which is all I'm worried about right now, that you get Oregon down there in the Peach Bowl, and I'm sure Dan Lanning wants another crack at Indiana, even though they got Texas Tech staring them right in the face. So it was going to be tough either way. It seems like the bottom half is a little bit more loaded just because you have Ohio State and you have Georgia down there and you have maybe Miami's going to be a dark horse in that end of the draw. So it seems a little more manageable at the top than at the bottom of the draw.
I will be surprised if Oregon gets by Texas Tech in that quarterfinal game. So just me. But how about that, though? If Indiana has a rematch against Oregon, the Joe Moore Award for the top offensive line, the 3 finalists, Indiana, Oregon, and Iowa. We ask who still runs the ball, who has a power running element. Oh, just like it was 10 years ago, huh? Indiana, Oregon. Now, Iowa still did. They just ran into a brick wall.
One out of the
three. But, talk is cheap. When Dan Lanning went to Eugene, he says, we want to become more of a line of scrimmage team like we were at Georgia. Okay, we'll see with Oregon. Well, there you go. Who we got in the NFL this week, Wes?
Yeah, we're going to look at a couple here. I'm going to go with the Cleveland Browns plus 7.5 at Chicago. The biggest favorite, Chicago, by the way, has now been all season long. They hung with Green Bay. Green Bay fortunately got the cover for us, but I'm not a huge believer in Shedeur Sanders, but I have more belief than I did maybe a couple weeks ago that maybe there's something. Maybe he has something here. And you're going to have cold conditions. It's going to affect both teams. So I thought 7.5 was a little rich for Chicago to lay in this spot. And then another one, even though I got very fortunate last week with the Raiders, I'm going to go against Denver again. I think Denver has been they're a quality team, but they're not an 11-2 team. I just don't believe that. So I like the Pack as a cheap money line on the road. They're laying about 2.5 to Denver. So Green Bay for me, and then one more. Let's go ahead and buy low at -4 on Kansas City one more time, because I think we all watched on Sunday night where it felt like we were writing this team's obituary. This organ, like this is the end of the line, and you saw how dejected Travis Kelce was, and it was there against that Houston defense on Sunday night. Now they get the Chargers. Herbert banged up. They're still banged up on the offensive line. Chiefs lost to these guys down in Brazil to open the season. I think this is maybe the last stand for the Chiefs, and I like them laying the points against the Bolts.
Catching Chargers at a good time, man. I mean, they were fortunate, obviously, to get out of that thing alive.
I have nothing but sympathy for Travis Kelce. Nothing ever goes like that.
Yeah, now he's got to go be a roadie for the biggest pop star in the world.
Yeah, he just must hate getting up in the morning, right?
All right, Wes. Follow Wes on X at Wes Reynolds 1. Congratulations, Wes, to the Hoosiers, man. It was fun to watch. It was fun to watch.
Thank you, fellas.
Don't mind it. We had the Hoosiers in the under, so we like that too. We're not happy about our Pavia Heisman ticket, so anyway, we will see if that's the next step. Thank you, Wes. We'll talk to you next week.
Thank you, boys. Appreciate it.
And we are also brought to you by Coastal Capital Advisors, your full-service financial planners. When it comes to retirement, listen, your situation is unique. So no matter what stage of life you are in, no matter what age or your income level, a tailor make a plan that is perfect for you, that fits your family's needs. What are you trying to do? What are you trying to accomplish? Phil Fontenot and his staff will sit down with you. They'll talk you through it and establish that lifetime relationship. That's what they have done for our family. We're very, very pleased with the results. CoastalCapitalADV.com is the website to set up an appointment. CoastalCapitalADV.com, member FINRA, SIPC. Live at Modesto, live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch with Ott and Hanny from Modesto on Burbank on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
We return here at Modesto. So the assistant coach, I guess, shuffle continues to go on. But LSU nailing some things down, according to our friends over at the Advocate. So Charlie Weiss, when the whole Lane Kiffin thing went down, had reached an agreement with LSU. He signed a 3-year, $6 million deal. That was his original term sheet. That was 10 days ago. The term sheet was 3 years, $6 million to come to LSU. Sounded like a pretty good deal. But there was some saber rattling up in Oxford that when he went back, they would try to turn him around, and that the term sheet, the memorandum of understanding would not be enforceable. So we all had to go to law school for a little bit. Well, Monday, Weiss got a new deal. According to the records request from the Advocate, he's now got a 3-year deal for $2.5 million per year. So just the saber rattling ends up making him an extra $500,000 a year. Ole Miss officially moved on at the beginning of this week. They hired the OC from East Carolina, John David Baker. Now here's what I find interesting about this contract. This is one of the interesting parts about it. It includes an annual look-in period after every season to review his compensation. If necessary, LSU will give him a raise so that his salary exceeds the highest annual compensation of any other SEC offensive coordinator before incentives. Now, I don't want to be the wet blanket on this party, Jimmy, because right now there's a new coach and a new staff, and everybody's happy, and everything is new, and everything is fresh. But can I ask at least a question? If he sucks, can they do the look-in period and reduce his salary? I mean, I don't want that to happen, but what contract for an assistant doesn't have an actual look-in period anyway? Well, they don't even call it. It's the first time I've heard it called that, but if guys do well around here, they always get raises. Always. I mean, I can't remember the last time any coach here had a really good season and didn't get a raise, an extension.
What's Kiffin's expertise?
The offensive side of the ball.
Play calling too, huh?
Yeah, although Weiss has been calling the plays, but yeah.
This is one of the least important hires on your team.
I wouldn't go that far.
For Lane Kiffin?
It's less important than the other side, but
let me phrase it differently.
Yeah.
What head coach is the offense coordinator hire less important?
If Lane
What
Kiffin
head
had to
coach
call
in the SEC? Kiffin's more of a play caller, sequence, the whole thing. I mean, come on.
Josh Heupel has been a play caller too.
Yeah.
But I get what you're saying.
better than him.
I get what you're saying. Yeah, he is. I get what you're saying. My deal with the look-in period is, okay, we're going to look in. If you do really well, you were going to get that anyway. So now you got to build this into the contract that it's automatic. That if you have to make him the highest pay. I mean, the guy hadn't coached it down yet here. Can we see? Can there? And I realize that maybe they had to do this, or he would have said, "Well,
he's way more important to Ole Miss than he is to LSU."
I get that, and they probably offered him more money to go back up there to see if they could buck the term sheet. Why else would LSU give him an extra $500,000 a year? But I mean, every time we talk about these contracts, it's they are so incredibly one-sided. I would be fine with a look-in period for all the assistant coaches. Hey, you know what? You have a good year? That's fine. I wish they could have docked Joe Sloan half of his salary after the first year for the second year. I mean, or for an upcoming year. I mean, what if you guys stink? Did they get any money back from Matt House? No, they had to pay him the whole damn thing. Every time you hire an assistant coach, you think he's way better than the guy you got before. And you and I have talked about this on the show before. Every assistant coach that's leaving Baton Rouge, that guy stunk. I don't know why he was ever here in the first place. And the new guy coming in is flawless until he coaches it down.
Seeing it out ad nauseam.
I mean, do you have to bend over this far for every doggone contract on the staff?
I mean, you got to let Kiffin hire who he wants, but it's. I'm sorry, but Charlie Weiss Jr. for under Lane Kiffin. Kiffin can't call his own plays.
He could if he
absolutely.
had. Yeah, he's called plays.
He's called plays most of his career.
I mean,
he's a very good player. It's his strength. That is what separates himself. That's what makes him special.
And if Kiffin went to them and said, I really want Charlie Weiss, and I think he's worth this. They've got a pile of money to put somewhere. He says, I think Charlie Weiss is worth $2.5 million a year. Absolutely. Go give it to him. Okay, fine. He gets a 3-year deal for $2.5 million. But now we got to put this clause in that if he has a really good year, we have to make him the highest paid coordinator. Why does LSU have
to let their assistants go and coach over there to begin with?
They don't.
They
don't.
They
could have dug their feet in the ground.
But Ole Miss doesn't want Kiffin there because they don't want him purged and they don't want him taken away from maybe their future roster, right?
Yeah.
Okay, well, if LSU's going to allow their assistants to go over there, doesn't that take away from LSU's future staff?
Absolutely.
Why the hell does LSU have to play by separate? Man, hell with them.
That's.
I mean, it's getting to that point. No. Now, Arcade of Plains coming. Who wants to get on or not? We're tired of this. Let's win it all. And why does LSU have to be nice?
They don't. Nice. And they just did. 2-year deal for offensive line coach Eric Wolford, $937,000 a year. Quarterbacks coach Dane Stevens, $350,000 a year. That's a 2-year deal as well. A couple of jobs in the front office that are there as well. Now, I understand this is what top flight coordinators make. And if this is the guy that Lane Kiffin wants, I'm fine. And Blake Baker's is now over $3 million a year. We have to write in this look-in period to make you the highest paid coach at the end of every season. Now, what if you stink?
But it's.
Can we reduce your salary? Do we have to fire you?
Okay, we're gonna let these guys go. But this guy going back over there is cost us another $500,000.
Yeah, I mean they might have tried to lure him back anyway. But yeah, I mean
it seems like
him getting back on the plane and going up there cost LSU an extra $500,000 a year. That's what it seems. That may not be accurate, but that's what it seems like. We got to look in we have to look in every year to make
interpretation.
So what I'd like, the other thing I'd like to know is what would.
Can you use that $500,000 for your player budget?
Certainly. What type of performance does it make to make him the highest paid offensive coordinator? I mean, what is it? first in the SEC in yards gained or points scored, or I don't get it. All I know is every time one of these guys does well, they get compensated, they get extended, they get raised, even in cases where they don't deserve them in a lot of cases. Now we got to write this in? I mean, good gracious.
Well, if it's happening anyway and you write it in, what's the matter?
Yeah, I guess. I guess. Here, just take it all. Take it.
I thought there was going to be, this. Well, can Cignetti bust out at Indiana?
I mean,
can Rule bust out in Lincoln?
I just wish
who else?
Can Florida State go to Mike Norvell and say, you know what, we're not going to fire you, but 2 of the last 3 years you stunk. So can we get a little rebate here? Can Wisconsin do that with Luke Fickell? Can Baylor do that with Dave Aranda? These are 3 guys that barely kept their jobs.
The whole country is acting like Auburn used to.
Yeah.
And forever. We're like, okay, it's an extension and a raise, or you fired.
Yes. That's essentially what it is. So now we got to write this in.
We used to criticize, like, man, that's a little extreme at Auburn. I mean, you beat Alabama, extension and raise. You don't, you fire. I mean, because they would always play Auburn, Alabama, at home or away. I'm sorry, Georgia and Alabama.
Yeah.
At home or away, because that's their permanence. And, I mean, first time you had to beat them both as number 1 to get a raise.
You beat them both, you get a raise. It's Glengarry, Glen Ross. You win both of them, you get an extension and a raise. You get one of them, you get to keep your job. You lose both of them, you get fired.
We talked about Thanksgiving, man. Set record sales for Roca Pizzeria and the Go Eat Concepts Thanksgiving catering food, and we got it all for Christmas. Again, get your Christmas orders in by December 20th. December 20th, you pick up on Christmas Eve smoked meats like the smoked brisket bundle, the smoked pulled pork, smoked turkey breast, salumi boards, the Modesto tamales, Roca sides like the mac and cheese, Brussels sprouts, meatballs, potatoes au gratin, sweet potato casserole, spinach and artichoke dip, Italian chopped pasta salad, vodka tomato basil soup, potato leek soup, and desserts as well. Get them in. Go to rocapizzeria.com. You can place your order. Get it in by your order by December 20th. Pick up. You schedule exactly your time on Christmas Eve. It's Go Eat Concepts Christmas Table exclusively at Roca Pizzeria.
Live at Modesto, live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch with Ott and Hanny from Modesto on Burbank on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
NFL game tomorrow night, Falcons and Bucks. Falcons will be without Drake London. He will miss that game. Jimmy, you asked Wes Reynolds about the defensive lineman Stephen Daly from Indiana. Kirk Cignetti just confirming that he will miss the remainder of the season. A tough go for him. And Notre Dame caved. Thankfully, they're going to let Ivan Mizell go sign his books this weekend, something that Scott Rabley talked about. They were catching a bunch of heat from that for being so petty. Thanks for being our host today here at Modesto. Tomorrow we will be at Sammy's on Highland Road. For Jimmy Jordan back in the studio, I'm Charles Henniger saying thank you and good afternoon. Stay tuned for Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.